The sun had barely kissed the rooftops of the bustling Somali coastal town of Bana when whispers began to stir like the morning breeze. Every day, at the same hour, a tall, mysterious man, dressed in a simple white trouser and a kufi, would disappear down the alleyways near the souk. He moved with purpose, his frame regal yet humble, and in his hand, always, was a small cloth bag filled with what no one knew. No one except Aisha. Aisha was a girl bound to a wheelchair, her legs twisted since birth, and her fate even more so. She lived under a rusted iron shed near the far end of the market, where flies danced in the air and hope rarely visited. But each day the man would come, bringing food, medicine, and soft-spoken. Uncle Juma, she called him, my guardian angel. But in another part of Bana, under a modest but tidy roof, Aminaa sat wondering. "Where does my husband vanish to every day?" she would mutter in Somali, wiping sweat from her brow after returning from scrubbing floors at the sheikh's home. "And where does he get that extra money when we barely survive?" Juma was not like other men. To the townspeople, he was an ordinary, kind, and quiet Somali man who sold firewood and occasionally carved ladles from acacia wood. But what they did not know was that Juma was a man of considerable wealth. Years ago, he had inherited vast camel herds and rental properties from a wealthy uncle in Djibouti, a man who died childless and left behind prime land, gold coins sealed in tins, and offshore accounts. But Juma, wise and wary, chose to keep it secret. He had seen too many men in Mogadishu and Hargeisa lose their minds to greed and corruption. He lived modestly, choosing a simple life in Bana. Yet his soul ached when he saw suffering, and that is why he could never walk past Aisha without helping. Aisha had no one. She had been abandoned as a baby, and later taken in by an old woman who died during a cholera outbreak. Since then, Aisha had lived alone, humming Somali folk songs and telling herself stories to survive the long nights. But everything changed the day Juma appeared, placing a banana and a packet of dates on her lap with a gentle smile. Aminaa was beautiful, not just in form, but in spirit. But poverty had bent her back and weighed down her laughter. Before she married Juma, she worked as a maid in the home of Haji Yusuf and his wife Khadra, who lived in the stone mansion by the Dow harbor. Each evening, as she carried laundry to the drying line, a man would watch her from a distance, not in a way that scared her, but with eyes that held stories. He had asked her once, then again, "Where are your parents, my sister?" And she had answered the same, over and over. "They threw me out, said I was a curse. I don't know them anymore." Juma had watched her grow from a teenage girl into a strong, determined Somali woman. One day, when the Haji's wife slapped her for breaking a ceramic bowl from Turkey, he could not stand it anymore. He took her into his home. "I am not charity," she had shouted, ashamed. "No, you are not," he said gently. "You are the baraka of a home not yet built. Stay with me." It took time, but love crept in quietly, like the ocean breeze before dawn. He made her laugh again. She cooked food for him. They shared mangoes under moonlight. He recited Somali poetry when she couldn't sleep. She began to trust him. And then, one sunrise, he asked, "Will you be my wife?" And she said yes. But years later, as she cleaned floors and watched her husband sneak off with money she never saw, her heart began to twist. Juma had found Aisha broken, but through his kindness she began to heal. He paid for her education, secretly. A friend of his, who ran a madrasa and a school for disabled children in Berbera, agreed to take her. Each morning Juma wheeled her to the bus stop, where a special van waited. To Aisha, Juma was more than a benefactor. He was the father she had never known. "Why do you do this for me?" she once asked. "Because charity is a gift from Allah," he said, "and I was gifted you." Years passed. Aisha grew into a brilliant young woman. Her mind sparkled like the stars she watched every night. She began to write Somali stories, beautiful ones, about resilience, about strength, about angels in the form of men. One day, a Nairobi-based publisher read her manuscript, and within months her book, Under the Baobab Tree, became a sensation across East Africa. Reporters came, cameras flashed. They asked, "Who is the mysterious man who raised you?" But Aisha refused to tell. Back in Bana, Aminaa confronted her husband. "You think I'm idiot? You hide money, vanish daily, and when I ask, you look away. Am I not your wife?" Juma sighed. His heart was heavy. He told her everything. About the inheritance, about Aisha, about why he never revealed the truth. "I didn't tell you because I wanted us to have a life built on love, not gold. And Aisha, she reminded me of you, of the day I saw you with tears on your face and a broom in your hand." Aminaa wept, not from betrayal, but from love so fierce it burned. "You should have told me," she whispered. "I was afraid you'd stop believing in our life, that the magic would die." News spread. Aisha dedicated her book to two people, to Juma, who gave me wings, and to Aminaa, whose strength I see in every mirror. Amina's parents saw the news. They came dressed in sorrow and tattered apologies. "Girl," they said, "forgive us. We were fools." Aminaa turned away, her heart torn. But Juma stepped forward. If forgiveness was only given to the deserving, none of us would receive it. He took their hands and placed them in hers. That night, the family sat under the Somali stars, and for the first time in years, Aminaa smiled without pain. Aisha moved to Hargeisa. She started a foundation for children with disabilities and aspiring writers. But every year, on the same date, she returned to Bana and laid white lilies at Juma and Amina's door. When asked why she never revealed Juma's full name, she simply said, "Some angels prefer to walk unseen." Juma and Aminaa used their wealth to build a school, a clinic, and a library, but they never moved to a bigger house. They said the small one had all the room love required, and so the town of Bana flourished, not because of gold, but because of quiet kindness, the kind that moves without needing to be seen. In the heart of Somalia, where tales dance under the acacia trees and the moon listens with bated breath, the story of Juma, Aminaa, and Aisha still lives, soft as a whisper, strong as truth, and eternal as love.